YouTube, you are now at the interview video and the interview portion of our Olympus Reptiles news. And today we have a really exciting guest and our first ever female guest. First one we've ever had, which is awesome, which is great for us because there's not a lot of females in the hobby and there's more and more getting into it. So it's awesome to have a female, and that is Deadly Tarantula Girl, who is with us today.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we love having you. It's, like I say, it is really awesome we get to have a female because I think it's an underrepresented part of the market. And, you know, if you would go back when I was a kid, most girls thought snakes were gross, and I think that's changing now. So there's more and more getting into it, and that's only going to be good for all of us. So really excited to get that. Because if you look at our demographics, you women don't watch us. So hopefully she'll help get the ladies to watch us because we only get like 18% of our viewers are female. So watch us, please, ladies. That sounded desperate. All right, are you ready to play this game? And instead of 12 questions today, it's actually going to be 13. You ready for that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, like always, our first question is your biggest success in reptiles and or spiders since you are Deadly Tarantula Girl.
Well, I have, for me, as far as what I find important, I have reproduced a lot of Caribbean versicolor, which is the Martinique or the Antilles pink-toed tarantula, which is not only a beautiful exotic species, but that area was actually damaged, completely decimated during one of the hurricanes in the last year or two. And their native populations are actually in a very small, like a 100 square mile radius in the Caribbean area. And so, obviously, as someone who is concerned for the wild populations, of course, right away I thought, what has happened to those, you know, natural populations? And as far as I know, no one has gone and investigated that. But I know that I've gone a long way to help to conserve that species, even if it's only in captivity. And so for me, that could truly be the preservation of a species, and it's an incredible animal. So reproducing Caribbean versicolor to me that was a big one. And I mean, I just love them. They're amazing. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. And how many species have had major, like, you know, problems, and then the wild population has been supplemented and reintroduced through captive breeding. So even if that wild population is gone or down, it'll be the captive breeding that may very well save it. I mean, we see that with rhinoceroses, lions in places, and so, like, yeah, that's awesome. That's like true conservation. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
That also brings us to your biggest failure in reptiles or spiders.
Oh gosh.
I know that's a hard one. Nobody likes this one.
Well, you know, I would just have to say that there have been times through the years when I have attempted to reproduce species that we just don't know much about. And one thing that I used to do consistently is when I had a tarantula egg sac that I was sure that the mother would cannibalize because she was too nervous or for whatever reason, I would pull the egg sac and I would very gently turn it twice a day and do all this stuff to take care of it. But what I found out after a period of time, a lot of those egg sacs went bad. Well, what I figured out is that those mother tarantulas are a little bit rough with them, and that there are important reasons why. They have to be kind of roughed up when they're turned, or the eggs tend to stick together and they actually go bad. And I was way too gentle with them. I had to give them like some tough love, and I actually really turn them really roughly now, and my viability rate is much, much higher. And so being too gentle with those egg sacs, you know, here I thought, oh, those tarantula moms, you know, they're just wild and they don't know what they're doing. Well, they actually did. And took a little lesson from those moms and started turning those sacs, you know, like I would actually palpate them a little bit and you can feel those eggs kind of breaking apart. And that was actually a very important aspect of the section of their life cycle in which they develop inside the egg sac. And so losing those ones before I kind of learned that lesson and figured that out, that was a real shame. And, you know, unfortunately, with a lot of these species that haven't been documented, a lot of stuff about them, you kind of have to learn through trial and error. And so losing those egg sacs to me was kind of tragic, but again, that was something that had to happen on my journey to help conserve the species in the future. So
absolutely, and that's why we ask that question, is because when new people come in, they're going to have failures. We want them to see that everybody else has had too. As long as they learn from it, it's a benefit. They can move on past that failure and learn and grow. And it sounds like, I don't have a lot of tarantula experience. I'm a python guy. But boy, it sounds like tarantulas are a lot more involved in breeding some ball pythons, where I just take the eggs, throw them in an incubator, kind of forget they're there for 2 months,
Yes, they are so much work. I actually went to an expo in San Antonio, and I had an egg sac that wasn't ready to be opened. And so I actually took that egg sac with me in a tiny little incubation chamber, and I carried it around everywhere with me, and it was like total craziness. But so when I would go to a restaurant, I actually had a tarantula egg sac with me in my bag, and that's just me.
Well, this brings us to our first random question. And I'll be honest, most of our viewers are ball python people, so some of these will be ball python oriented. I can't control what comes out the cup. Let's see what we have. We got an easy question for your first one, and that is your favorite restaurant in your hometown.
Well, I love food. I could eat all day long, and there's a cool little restaurant with a nice patio where you can get a good burger and a nice margarita, and that place is called Peppers, and the owners are really cool, and they always come out and they're all excited, like, oh, you came, and give me a hug. And so it's called Peppers, and that's probably my favorite restaurant here.
So a good advertisement for Peppers. If you're in the area, go check it out, right? Okay, well then we get back to our standard questions. That is, how did you get started in the hobby?
Okay, well, I'll try to keep this brief. But so when I was in first grade, I've always been an animal lover. My teacher did this huge unit on dinosaurs, and we got to do all this like life-size dinosaur stuff, and they were so incredible. I fell in love with dinosaurs. And since I have not ever been able to capture a dinosaur, the next thing, of course, is to go and, find and keep reptiles. Right. And where I grew up in California, there were quite a few snakes and amphibians, newts, frogs, really cool stuff. And then, quite a while back, I moved to the Southwest, and they had the coolest giant inverts, tarantulas and scorpions and vinegaroons and centipedes. And I mean, it was just insane, the stuff that you would see running around. I mean, it was so exciting. And, all the other girls were like, oh, and I'm like, ooh, I want to pet it. And I want to... And so I'm also... I'm a big reader, so reading stuff about them, they're really incredible animals. And then when I got into my late teens, early 20s, I got pretty heavy into the exotic world. And obviously, I kind of went crazy from there. So,
I understand. That's how it started. I think all kids get into the dinosaurs. If you find a kid that likes reptiles or an adult that likes reptiles, they probably like dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs rule.
So where do you see the industry going?
Well, I do have concerns about the industry because I feel like, at least in the U.S., the American government is really trying to get their piece of the pie, and that's where a lot of the lawmakers are coming in, trying to ban certain things or making different permitting regulations. And I'm all for regulation because I feel like people need to be people need to be kept safe, and of course the animals need to be kept safe, and there needs to be accountability for the people who are keeping these animals. But I have grave concerns that our rights are going to be taken away more and more, and that one day it's going to be illegal to keep almost any type of animal. And so I personally, my platform obviously is education, because also I know that the media likes to really vilify and frighten the public about how snakes are so dangerous and all these animals are man-eaters and all this stuff that really is kind of based on some
Right.
bull. And, you know, it's all driven from ignorance. And so teaching people the truth about these animals and also helping them understand how amazing and beautiful and awesome they are, I think goes a long way to helping teach people about them, and also hopefully preserving our rights as exotic animal keepers.
I agree. Like, regulation can be good if it's done responsibly, but they tend to overstep, and you're right on target with the media. I mean, if you look at statistics, you're more likely to be killed by a vending machine in America than a venomous snake. Yet, you can still go buy a Pepsi on any corner, and horses are by far the most dangerous domestic animal.
Yes.
Yet that's, glorified in Western movies and everywhere else keep horses. And I'm not anti-horse, but you have a python, or you keep a rattlesnake, you're this horrible human being. And it's just so skewed based on, I guess, leftover fears. So I'm totally with you on that. All right, back to your next random question.
All right.
Let's see, maybe this won't be quite as easy. Oh, this one. Oh, see? Okay, you've seen our guy in the background who's missing right now, right?
Yes, I have.
That's good, because this question has to do with our Bigfoot. And that is, would you rather get bit by a rattlesnake or ravaged by a random Bigfoot?
Probably bitten by a rattlesnake, because I've had a lot of Bigfoots try to track me down before, and it's scary.
He is scary.
So,
Poor Bigfoot.
Rattlesnake anytime. And I don't know if you've seen this video. I have.
I need to watch that one, because any type of equipment.
So, I'm prepared for a venomous snake bite. Those big feet, on the other hand.
We need to get you like a Bigfoot prevention kit. Like, I need to make some off for him. I just spray him with gasoline and light him on fire when I need to get rid of him. That works.
Well, I do have security with me, and they are trained in Bigfoot prevention.
That's good.
Know that.
We'll just add it to our Bigfoot's list of growing restraining orders he already has, right?
All right.
Now, this is my favorite part, because these are the questions that I got to think up for you. And this is probably my favorite question, and that is, I know you're married, correct?
I am.
Okay, does your husband get the same type of questions as my wife? Which she'll tell you anytime she goes somewhere and she says what we do, that she lives in a house and her husband breeds exotic reptiles. She always gets that, oh my God, how do you sleep at night? Or, oh my God, how can you stay there? I can't believe you're in the animal room with all those animals. Do they get out? Or all these random questions. And I'm curious if, being a reverse sex role, if he gets that the same way she gets that.
That's interesting. And I don't know if I know the answer to that for certain, but I know that people do ask him a lot of the same things that people ask me, and that the question that we both get asked pretty much every day is, and we always tell people the same thing: anything with a mouth can bite.
Right. That's my standard answer.
Can bite.
Yeah, it's got a mouth that can bite. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. And then I watched a video of yours a long time ago. It's an older video, and it had to do with some hyper-melanistic rattlesnakes that you had born in your facility, some little hyper-melanistic babies. And I want to know about them and how they're doing, because I thought those were just fascinating looking little rattlesnakes.
Well, they all are great. I think we had one that kind of failed to thrive, which, that does happen from time to time. But most of those animals are already reaching their late juvenile, young adult stages, and they're getting ready to be bred to different bloodlines. And I don't know if you know anything about the bubblegum gene, but we're getting ready to do some very exciting Atrox and Beardus breeding within the next year or so. And those animals are definitely involved in those projects. So that's really cool that you remember that.
It's one of the genes I don't have in my collection as a hypermelanistic. So I saw that when they were born. It was just that jet black, and the head was such a jet black head. It was just beautiful on a rattlesnake. So I really dug that. So yeah, I definitely remembered that. I was like, whoa! It was one of the rattlesnake videos that blew me away. Because good rattlesnake videos are hard to find. Especially good captive rattlesnake videos are hard to find, I think. And that was definitely one that stuck with me.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, and then you get to your third of 4 random questions.
Uh-oh. I'm scared.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, man. Kurt, we're pulling bad. This is terrible. And this one is a viewer-suggested question by one of our Patreon subscribers, Cody Catalanato, which is, does this rag smell like chloroform to you? And that's really creepy coming after the Bigfoot question.
Let's see. I'm going to say yes. Right.
Yes. She actually had a rag. That's great. Right. And then we're going to take a break from these. We got one more to go. But first up is keeping venomous snakes and spiders. Which one's potential is the most concerning to you and why?
Okay, sorry. You broke up for just a minute. Can you tell me the question again?
Sure. Keeping both venomous snakes and spiders, because there's some spiders I know are very toxic as well. But keeping both, which one's potential is the most concerning to you and why?
Oh, that's really easy because the truth is, although some tarantulas, which I primarily keep tarantulas, I don't really have any true spiders. I have from here, how do I say this? From time to time. But in general, as far as spiders, they're not. As far as inverts go, I really only keep tarantulas. And some of the African and Australian and Indian species are fairly potent. However, none of them are considered medically significant to humans, meaning it's going to hurt like a mother, but your life is not going to be in danger from any tarantula bite. I have, however, kept some very dangerous snakes, and so by far the reptiles, although, of course, we have safety precautions that we use. We don't free handle. We try to use appropriate handling measures for the disposition of that species. We use tongs, we use hooks, we use grabbers. I have cages with locking mechanisms to where they can go from one side of the enclosure to the other to reduce handling. We do have a venom lock. We work in teams. So as you've mentioned it before, the dangers of me getting in my car and going to the grocery store far outweigh the work that I do in my serpentarium at home. But if you're going to ask about the dangers of reptiles versus inverts, as far as my collection goes, reptiles definitely outweigh as on the danger scale.
Good to know. See, for me, I'm curious because I don't keep the spiders, so I didn't know, if you had tarantulas that could be worse. And I agree, I am much more fearful of the teenage girl texting while driving on my way to a restaurant than I am my rattlesnakes. So definitely. The best spider for a spider noob, and what makes it the best?
Well, I could give you a number of answers there, but my personal opinion would be Brachypelma smithi, which is the Mexican red knee, which is kind of the iconic tarantula that was in Indiana Jones. A lot of times if you see a tarantula in print or on TV, that is the one that you will see. And there's a number of reasons. Number one, it's fairly low maintenance, I say, because usually desert dwelling species are easier to keep than the tropical species. And they have a fairly docile temperament. They are really beautiful, and they get to a pretty good size. So I think that they work well as a pet and as a display animal. So to me, a win all around.
It's kind of the best of all worlds and pretty easy to care for the first time.
And beautiful, so they're fun to grow up.
Awesome. All right, time for your last random question.
Uh-oh.
Let's see how bad it's going to be. Again, I have no control over these.
Oh, okay.
I just pull them out of a bucket. So
now I'm going to get hit hard because I've gotten 3 easy ones.
Actually, no, you got an easy one. I thought the Bigfoot one was kind of rough. That was one that, All right, this one.
For that.
This one said, if nothing sticks to Teflon, how does Teflon stick to skillets? That was suggested by Scott Jennings. Apparently he wants to know how cookware works.
Okay, well, Scott, I hate to reveal science, just to throw it out there, but I do have a master's degree in science, so I'm going to break it down and get real here. Magic. It's just magic.
It's just magic.
That's all. So you just got to whip up some magic, and that's that.
All right, and for Deadly Tarantula Girl, we have one extra question. We have a 13th question. and that is I understand that you have another talent outside of spiders and reptiles and the science of magic. What is that talent?
Well, other than being a school teacher and a coach and an author and an entrepreneur and other things I do, as you might have guessed, I also belly dance. And I was just in Albuquerque last weekend, and now I'm performing at the Galacticon here in Roswell this weekend. And I love dancing. It's something that I do just to train fit and to celebrate being a woman. And I really fit, and people enjoy watching it. So it's win-win.
Huh? We got a little digitized, but I understand you said you belly dance and you enjoy it because of it helps keep fit, and then you also said you're a school teacher. That's something I didn't know.
Yes. Yes, I'm an elementary school teacher. I'm actually licensed to teach any grade, multiple endorsements.
Okay.
Like that.
I gotta ask now because Question Girl, our Question Girl, is also an elementary school teacher. So what grade do you teach?
Well, so I've done high school, middle school, and elementary. The last 3 years I taught 5th grade, and this coming school year I'm going to be teaching 4th grade. So now officially I'm a 4th grade teacher.
That's awesome. I got to get you two connected because she's taught mostly 5th grade her whole career in a few different places and took a break, which was going back to school, and taught a little bit here at our local college at Kansas State University, and then decided, you know what, I don't like college kids, and went back to teaching 5th grade. So she loves the elementary kids. So that's pretty awesome. So I have a lot of respect for teachers.
I do too. I know that they can be, it's kind of like having 30 children, which can be, a little bit nuts, but they're worth it. I love my students. They're really incredible, and I wouldn't trade them.
Okay, and I'm going to give a quick piece of advice, and tell me if I'm wrong. For any of our, because 80% of our viewers are male, so for any guys out there who ever end up meeting a teacher and dating a teacher, one thing to never say to a teacher, ever, is, gee, it must be nice having summers off. That's bad.
I'll tell you honestly, the top 3 reasons to become a teacher: June, July, and August.
Pretty good.
I'm just kidding. I'm busy year round. This is the first year I've taken officially off work, other than I'm still running our business and filming and doing all that stuff. But a lot of times I do work. Actually usually keep 3 or 4 jobs at a time, and I've kind of cut that back. I just got my master's degree in May of this year, which it's only July, so I'm like, I think I just need to, we're outside building pins and my animals, they need extra stuff in the summertime. They grow a lot and we need to build new cages, and so I'm just out there in the dirt doing
well, anyway, thank you so much for being on here as our first female guest. For any of you watching, if you're not on her channel, go check it out. It's really neat. You're going to see spiders. You're going to learn something, because I can't teach about spiders. You're going to see a lot of cool rattlesnakes. There's even some belly dancing videos on there, so make sure, go subscribe, click that bell for Deadly Tarantula Girl. Anything you want to add before we go?
Thank you so much. I'm honored to have been your first female guest. If anybody had questions about the venom lock, there is a website, and I do have a video about it. Venomous keepers, or people who have venomous living in their area, it's super economical, really light and easy to use, and honestly, it could give you that extra time before you if you have a fatal bite, or even if you have a bite that does need some treatment. It's super easy. It's something you can reuse, and not very many people, it's a newer product, not many people know about it, and so I feel strongly about kind of spreading the word and letting people know that it's even out there. And so if you're interested, get on the website or search that video on my channel. And yeah, I've even given some to some of my friends who I know keep cobras and stuff like that you really do need that time. And so thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been an honor, and you guys are amazing.
But
thank you so much.
Before we go, Question Girl just told me she has a question for you, if that's all right.
Oh, sure.
She heard you were a teacher, so she had to jump in. What do you got for us, Question Girl?
So So my question is, and this has to do with like your tarantulas. So
Okay.
if you had a tarantula and you were a novice at handling them, is it kind of like having a cat or a dog in some ways, that sometimes the more you handle them, the more comfortable you get, and the more tame sometimes that animal can get? Or does it not work that way at all with tarantulas?
I would say it certainly can. It varies a lot from species to species. For example, in general, if you have a Siberian tiger living near you, they're probably never really going to want to be cuddled and held. If you have a savanna cat, on the other hand, if you're handling them regular, they very may well get to a point to where they actually will come up into your lap and tolerate being loved on. So there are some species that are really nervous, more defensive. I don't like to say aggressive, because they really only strike out if they have concerns for their well-being. So there are gentler species that are actually pretty happy just to walk up onto your hand, and you can kind of walk them from hand to hand, and they don't really have a concern about it. There are other species like Poecilotheria metallica, the Goody ornamental, is a beautiful species that in general probably is never going to want to be held. Now, I've seen people hold them, but I mean, they're going to try to run away. They would be much quicker to bite, and their venom is more potent. So that's just not one that I would say, if you have a Metallica, probably don't want to be playing with it too much. But if you do have a Smith Eye or a Versicolor, that's an animal that I hold all the time. And if it's never been held, it might not quite be sure what you're going to do. But if you reach in there and put your hand and kind of just, gently encourage them to walk up onto your hand, a couple times a month, when you stick your hand in there, they're just going to go, oh, cool, sure, we're going to do this thing. And be pretty chill about it. So I would say the long and short answer is, if you have a more docile species, yes, definitely, that's a strong possibility.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure and like and subscribe our channel. Deadly Tarantula Girl, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.